Goodson, Matt Bolden, Stephen Gray, Elias Harris in his freshman season, and Robert Sacre, the big man in the middle for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Mark Few now in his 11th year as the Gonzaga head coach, his 21st on the Gonzaga bench here in Spokane, Washington. 4 Sweet 16s, the NCAA every year as a head coach. No fewer than 23 wins in a season. No pun intended. Dino Gaudio in his 3rd season as head coach at Wake Forest, his 10th as a Division I head coach. Tough couple of ball games, as you mentioned, Steve. They were upset at home by William & Mary. First ever November home loss in the Joel Coliseum for Wake Forest. And then you saw him earlier this week against Purdue in what was really a bit of a rock fight, bit of a slugfest.
Well, it's been a combination of problems that have plagued Wake Forest. In the William & Mary game, they did not shoot the ball well from distance. William & Mary packed it in the paint as a result. And also, William & Mary, tough to defend. They spread that floor, run a Princeton or European-style offense. In the Purdue game, it was 25 turnovers. Wake Forest, as a result, has gone to C.J. Harris. A little more ball handling on the floor, a little smaller, quicker lineup as well.
Talk about back-to-back road tests at Purdue and at Gonzaga, 2 of the toughest places in the nation to play.
Well, great environments. If you're a college basketball junkie, doesn't get any better.
They've been camping out in Tent City just to make sure they got a good spot for the ACC's 2nd ever visit to the McCarthy Athletic Center. Virginia came here a couple years ago, and just like all but 3 opponents, they lost to Gonzaga here at the McCarthy Athletic Center, 65-3 in this building.
Gonzaga, one of the great stories in all of college basketball. You chronicled the 10 years of success under Mark Few. This is a mid-major program, but it's an elite level of basketball played up here. You look at the facilities, the committed resources, the TV exposure. Right there with the best in the country.
Wake Forest wins the opening tip. So, Steve, what do you expect out of the Bulldogs and the Demon Deacons?
Well, these 2 teams both like to get up and down the floor. At the same time, they want to utilize their size down low in the basket area.
Great start for C.J. Harris, the 3 in the corner. That's why Dino Gaudio put the freshman shooter into the starting lineup.
Have a hunch, bet a bunch as a coach. Let's give Dino Gaudio some credit here early, going to C.J. Harris, the freshman, for his ability to shoot the ball from distance, and he delivers.
Opening possession for Gonzaga. Goodson's going to skip it up to Stephen Gray. Bolden opens up with a 3. Matt Bolden, who led an amazing comeback against Washington State earlier this week in this building, answers with a 3 for Gonzaga. Chase McFarland in the post, backing in against Robert Sacre. Loose ball rebound taken by Aminu. Blocking foul underneath.
Bolden working well without the basketball, Carter. Coming off a Stephen Gray down screen, and the catch and shoot in rhythm. Very tight, efficient stroke from long range.
Bolden career high 28 Wednesday in that come-from-behind win against Washington State. Gonzaga was down 13 points in that game with 12 minutes to go. Did it with Bolden and Harris on offense and a great team defensive effort against Washington State.
One of the concerns here early for Gonzaga is they've gotten off to slow starts and had to dig their way from behind. They'd like to get out to a better start here early.
3 for Ishmael Smith is no good. Stephen Gray rebounds it. Gonzaga wants to run. Wake gets back in transition, which was one of the big keys for the Demon Deacons. Bad miss from Dimitri Goodson. Aminu brings it back for Wake.
Well, this is the versatility of Aminu. He has to be careful not get the turnover, but he does have the green light to rebound and push the ball in transition because he's highly skilled for a player his size.
Aminu on the post, draws a double over Sacre. Tip from McFarland.
Chase McFarland there on the weak side, just cleaning up the garbage like the crouton that falls off the plate. Get yourself a stick back or a putback. Big guy's got to make a meal of those croutons that fall off the plate.
Yeah,
inside rebounds.
Still scratching my head on the crouton falling off the plate, but I'll take your word for it.
Stay with me.
Aminu. Like a crouton falling off the plate. Ishmael Smith can't get it. Gonzaga brings it back. Bolden crossing over. Finds Goodson for 3. In Gonzaga with a couple of early jumpers to make it 6-5.
How quickly Wake Forest gets organized off the made or missed baskets and pushes the ball in transition. We've seen here early an example of how Bolden can beat you in so many ways. That's why I call him the hub of the wheel for Gonzaga. He's a playmaker, shot maker, his steadying influence, his experience, so critical to this Gonzaga team.
Aminu missing the long two. Gray tips the rebound. Here's Bolden again in transition. Wake gets back. Bolden covered up by the freshman C.J. Harris. Elias Harris misses the jumper. And now Ishmael Smith pressing on the accelerator. Smith to McFarland. Chase McFarland doubled on the post. So bring it back out and reset for Wake.
I like the patience here. Get organized, get into an offensive alignment or set. Give yourself a chance to get fouled, as the Deacons are. Well, Matt Bolden, the ability to beat you off the bounce here. A little crossover hesitation and the kick out. Goodson, the standstill 3-ball. Count it.
That foul was on Stephen Gray, his first second team foul against Gonzaga. Second chance for Wake in the half court, and an offensive foul whistled against Ishmael Smith. As Smith picks up his first personal, the senior from Concord, North Carolina, who had his minutes taken away last year, first by an injury and then the emergence of Jeff Teague.
Ishmael Smith, one of these Coach Lav all road runner. He's a beeper, uses his speed to influence the game at both ends of the floor. Disruptive when playing defense against opponents, and offensively a one-man fast break.
Goodson creates. Kelly Olynyk, the freshman, off the dribble, gives it back out to Stephen Gray. Bolden steps around the defense but misses. Foul goes against Robert Sacre, his first. And yes, Robert Sacre. There's been a little bit of confusion and discussion about his last name, but we talked to him before the game, and yeah, he says Sacre. So.
Well, he gets the final say, since it is his name, but it's been Sacre and Sacre, and now we're going with
Sacre. And Robert is known as the jokester on the team, so there's a distinct possibility that maybe he was throwing up a little screen on the name as well.
He also prefers Bobby to Robert.
So Bobby Sacre picks up his first. He's on the bench. Post to post, off the hands of Goodson. Wake gets it back.
Got to have eyes in the back of your head in transition to the scattered floor. Goodson there, not aware of the Deacon defenders coming from behind.
Off the Harris miss, Goodson brings it back. Bolden shot Vic off the screen from Olynyk. Goodson tries another three. Another bad miss from Dimitri Goodson. Harris pushes Wake in transition. On take anyway. And a foul on the stick back. Gonzaga with a couple of early threes and a 1-point edge on the Demon Deacons.
So many great opportunities to contribute and champion such an important cause on an annual basis. I migrate up to the Napa Valley for the Jimmy V wine celebration. Traditionally, it's that first weekend in August, and a great experience. In the past, they've had Mike Krzyzewski and Lou Holtz, Dick Vitale as speakers, and I'm a President's Club member, so I make sure that I migrate up to the wine country each August.
Mark and Marcy Few have been very active in another basketball cancer fundraising effort, Coaches versus Cancer, with a big fundraiser here in Spokane every summer.
Well, Mark and Marcy have raised over $4 million. $4 million in 8 years. That's another outstanding event in August, golf and black tie event. Jay Billis is the MC of that event on an annual basis. Just that alone makes it worth the price of admission. Get to see Jay Billis look like a penguin in a tuxedo. He looks pretty dapper.
And from what I hear, Jay does an exceptional job in a roast of Mark Few just about every August. So,
now Jay can chop you down with the best of them now. He's got that Johnny Cochran, F. Lee Bailey Shapiro legal background, so no one presents the case better than Mr. Billis.
A cross-examination, perhaps, every August. Well, it's been another slow shooting start for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Just 2 for 10 in the first 5 minutes plus against Gonzaga, similar to what you saw in West Lafayette earlier this week.
You know, the empty possessions have really hurt Wake Forest. We mentioned 25 turnovers on the road in West Lafayette. You're not going to win a game against a quality opponent with that many empty possessions.
17 second-half turnovers. And Dino Gaudio in the practice last night here at the McCarthy Athletic Center yelling to his team, we are never going to win a basketball game if we turn it over 25 times, as Olynyk gets fouled going to the hoop.
I really believe this Wake Forest team will be dangerous. They're tested here early, playing a tough schedule, which I think is a good move by Dino Gaudio. He'll get that early report card or reference point for his team's strengths and weaknesses. But they have the pieces. I like the balance of the inside-outside attack. Their front line as impressive as any, and they're going to only get better over the course of the season.
And one of the reasons why Wake Forest has struggled shooting, really, other than C.J. Harris, is Gary Clark, who's a shooter, has had mono, so he's slow coming back. Connor Tucker, junior college transfer, has an ankle injury that he's coming back from. Both of those guys were supposed to be shooters for the Demon Deacons this year.
They also have an outstanding recruiting class next year, so Coach Gaudio and his staff are getting it done on the recruiting trails, bringing in a top 10 rated recruiting class. 5 newcomers will join the 6 returners for the 2010-2011 campaign. So a bright future under Dino Gaudio for Wake Forest.
Losing 2 players in the first round of the NBA draft didn't help them. James Johnson and Jeff Teague, both taken 2 of the first 19 picks. C.J. Harris, freshman from Winston-Salem, Mount Tabor, into Al-Farouq Aminu with a finger roll in traffic over Manny Arap. Goodson brings it back for Gonzaga. A pair of made threes, the only 2 field goals for Gonzaga in the first 6 minutes plus. Arap, long 2 goes down.
Well, the gamble by Ari Stewart, that breakdown defensively leads to the open jump shot there at the elbow of the free throw line.
The kennel coming to life in a 9-9 game. Tony Woods misses inside, whistles somewhere in there against Wake Forest.
Here is the cavalry for Wake Forest as they will hit campus a year from now. Mackay and Terrell, those 2 have a chance to come in as shooters and contribute immediately for Wake Forest. But this is the 6th rated class. Paul Biancardi with ESPNU and our recruiting rankings there, delivering that homework.
A couple of years ago was another top 10 class when Al-Farouq Aminu and Tony Woods came in as sophomores, both out of Georgia. They played AAU together, committed to Wake Forest on the same day. The call was against Ishmael Smith, which would be his first. 9-9 game. Everything from Gonzaga has been from the perimeter. A couple of threes into 2.
Wake Forest very rangy and quick. They can cover a lot of ground on the perimeter. You can't be careless with your passes. You need to close down distance between pass and receiver.
Arap from the corner off the look from Matt Bolden. 5 off the bench from Manny Arap.
The playmaking skills of Matt Bolden on display once again. Completely at peace with his game offensively. Matty Bolden.
Wake Forest just 3 for 12 from the floor. And playing without Al-Farouq Aminu, he's on the bench right now. So Ishmael Smith, the senior from Concord, North Carolina, sets it up in the half court. Shot clock under 10. Harris off the shot fake. Turns it over. Goodson pushes the Zags. Teardrop, no. Stewart wins the battle for the rebound.
And Matty Bolden with the size to see over the top of defenses, the strength to put it on the deck and create. And again, the hesitation move into the lane draws the defense. The kick out to Arap, bottoms of the net.
Asked Matt about that come-from-behind win over Washington State. He said, indeed, that was just about as fun as any game he's ever participated in. As McFarland misses from the baseline. Loose ball. McFarland gets his own miss, keeps it inbounds, but there's Matt Bolden again. 3 in transition. How good has Matt Bolden been at the beginning of his senior year?
Gaudier with the timeout because Matt Bolden on fire from all angles. Timeout.
Wake Forest.
Well, Matty Bolden, the WD-40 man, influenced the game at both ends. Here, the steal, good anticipation, and then in transition, a nice pace. Lock and load like an old gunslinger in the West. Why not? Feeling it. Matt Bolden.
A little Zane Grey, perhaps, for Matt Bolden there.
High noon, Gary Cooper. How about Shane? There's a old Western, one of my favorites.
The Shootist.
John Wayne, his last film.
Yeah, he won the Oscar for that, didn't he?
That's right.
With Ron Howard. Stewart missing in tight. Another foul. The McCarthy Athletics Center exploding with Gonzaga on an 8-0 run.
It's inspired thousands, millions throughout the world.
You heard Dick Vitale in his message talking about how cancer affects all of us. Ray Giacoletti, Gonzaga assistant coach, his sister Connie Murphy, a cancer survivor as well. Meanwhile, on the basketball court, Araf is off to a career day. 7 points in this game for Manny Araf. That's more than he had scored all season long in the first 7 games for Gonzaga. Ray Giacoletti, the former Utah head coach.
Well, just sound basketball here. The give up, the cut to the basket, second cutter with the easy deuce. And that's the advantage that Mark Few has. Big men at his disposal who are skilled and can deliver passes like the one we just saw.
Williams knocks that one away from Bolden. Gonzaga keeps it. Matt Bolden, the senior out of Highland Ranch, Colorado. Thunder Ridge High School. Said the guys like Blake Stepp and Dan Dickow, the great guard tradition at Gonzaga, is the reason he came up to Spokane. He wanted to be a part of it. He's etched out his place in Gonzaga history. Foul whistled against C.J. Harris, his first.
Just going back to that point. Sacre and Harris on the floor down low for Gonzaga. And watch on their catches how comfortable they are. They don't rush. And that's drilled on a daily basis in practice to see where the help is coming from, to look for cutters.
Goodson foul and one.
A great little two-man game on one side of the floor. Dimitri Goodson with the blow-by. A nice screen by Harris. Opens up the baseline or the lane, and the beat beeper. Goodson, a road runner in his own right. Matter of fact, he's on my list of road runners as well as Ishmael Smith. So we've got 2 of the beat beepers here today.
Do you have an old Wile E. Coyote list, the guys that just constantly get beat?
The Wile E. Coyote could also be a savvy veteran that just comes up on the short end of things.
13-0 run by Gonzaga to make it 20-9 as Wake Forest continues to struggle offensively. Just 3 for 14 shooting, 21%.
Gonzaga playing that zone defense, trying to protect the basket area, the travel by Aminu, and just different looks by Gonzaga to keep Wake Forest out of rhythm, a team that clearly is struggling offensively.
Tuesday night, join us for a great doubleheader, part of the Jimmy V Classic. First at 7 Eastern, Butler and Georgetown, then 9 Eastern, Indiana versus Pitt. Jimmy V Classic on ESPN Tuesday.
What a joy Matt Howard is to watch for the Butler Bulldogs. Good look inside. And the finish by Sacre.
Bobby Sacre finishing tough inside.
We talked earlier about the poise of the big men. The Bulldogs, frontline players, not in a rush, not in a hurry. They're the muscle. And finish by Bobby Sacre.
And that's the thing that everyone says is different about this Gonzaga team. Much tougher bunch than maybe they've had the last couple of years. Very skilled teams, successful teams last couple of years, but this one's hallmark led by Bobby Sacre is that toughness.
Well, you build championship teams from the inside out at both ends of the floor. So when you have the luxury of a big front line that's highly skilled, and then you add that the complement of perimeter players, this Gonzaga team has, I think, an opportunity to finish as one of the higher seeds. They are the best team in the Western United States.
They've held Wake Forest without a field goal for almost 5 minutes now. A 15-0 run by Gonzaga. I don't want to let that one pass. You say with the Pac-10 down, Gonzaga is the best team on the West Coast.
Best team in the Western United States. They have the balance of an inside-outside attack. Bolden, Goodson, and Gray on the perimeter, complemented by the 4 interior big men. Olynyk and Zachary, even Will Foster, 7'4", contributes. Harris, German-born, 20-year-old freshman, played on that national team in Germany and contributed.
Sacre called for a travel, backing in on Aminu. Turnover Gonzaga. But Steve, you mentioned that Gonzaga's had to come back time and time again this year. Down 15 to Colorado, down 10 to Cincinnati, winning both those games in Maui. Down 13 this week to Washington State. So this is a different type of a game for Gonzaga with a big early lead.
Well, the adjustments by the coaching staff clear here today. Came in with a good game plan, and with the struggles Wake Forest has had with their perimeter shooting, just anemic percentages from long distance here. The Zags are wise to sit back in that zone and force Wake Forest to survive from the perimeter.
Wake only 3 made baskets. Harris draws a foul there on Arap. Now it was a big win for Gonzaga. Remember, they came in after a very close loss at Michigan State, where everyone said that was one of the quality games of the early season, and then the come from behind win in Maui against Cincinnati, went to overtime. Gonzaga down double digits to come back to beat a very physical Cincinnati team.
Well, and the bad news, if you're Mark Few, is your team is constantly down double figures. But the good news is the Bulldogs have exhibited a propensity for comebacks. They clearly are a resilient group, and that bodes well for the long haul, the arc of a season. And in Maui, 2 games in 3 days, they came from double-digit deficits to win those games. So says a lot, speaks volumes to this team in terms of their makeup, their toughness.
Harris's free throws for Wake ends a 15-0 run by Gonzaga. Loose ball picked up by the Deeks off the miss from Sacre. Harris in transition. C.J. Harris misses, follows his miss. Over to Aminu. Blocked by Sacre. Sending Gonzaga on the run. Wake gets back.
You know, I'm not sure collectively that Gonzaga doesn't have as good a front line as any in the country. Right there with North Carolina. Clearly, as we see Bolden from distance, playing another. The little one-bounce pull-up in rhythm.
Triple for Matt Bolden. He has 8. Long 2 for Matt Bolden gives him 8. Gonzaga out to a 13-point edge. I like Texas. You know, the last time Texas played in the Big 12 championship game, it was 2005. They beat Colorado 70-3. Went to the Rose Bowl and beat USC for the national title. That was back in 2005.
Wow, you're doing some research last night. Your homework over there in the Davenport Hotel, huh?
Tonight, I think we ought to take it easy at Jack and Dan's and check out the Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship game tonight at 8 Eastern on ABC.
Jack and Dan's Tavern, one of the great watering holes in Spokane, right there with the Bulldog.
On the corner. Aminu miss. McFarland there for the stick back. Just the 4th made basket of the game for Wake Forest.
Going back to Gonzaga's impressive front line. North Carolina clearly with Tyler Zeller, Ed Davis, Deion Thompson, an impressive group of big men. But when you look at Olynyk and Sacre, Harris, this is as impressive as any. Will Foster as well.
3-second violation against Gonzaga gives it back to Wake. One of the questions about the Bulldogs earlier this year, you looked at their starting 5 and said, okay, that's a pretty good starting 5, but how about the depth? And What do you think about the depth of this Gonzaga team in the early going?
Well, as the season goes along, they're playing an impressive group, 9 players. So Mark Few goes as many as 9 deep.
Three-pointer good.
A little run here by Wake Forest. Answering the bell out of the timeout.
Gary Clark off the bench with the 3. So 5 straight for Wake after Gonzaga had a 15-0 run to take command. It was 22-9 at the end of the run. And now an offensive foul called against Gonzaga. Kelly Olynyk whistled for the personal. That is his first.
Number 13, Kelly Olynyk. That's his first.
7th team foul.
Back for the Bulldogs, Sacre and Harris.
Sacre and Harris check back into the game for Gonzaga.
See if Wake Forest can get Aminu involved with some pick and pop, on-ball screens, try and find different ways to get Aminu involved.
Wake a mini 7-2 run to try and get back in it, but another miss. This one comes from Weaver. Second chance for the Demon Deacons. Ishmael Smith will reset. Into Aminu. Here's Al-Farouq Aminu going left, missing. Follows his miss. Al-Farouq Aminu finishes it off. It's a 9-2 Wake run.
I like the stick-to-itiveness. Gonzaga quickly getting organized in early offense. Going to put some touches on the ball. There we saw Aminu's ability to stay after it, rebound the ball, and flush it.
Bolden missing. Rebound Smith. Wake pushing it ahead. Gary Clark in the corner, missing the long 2. Smith there for the rebound. Second chance for the Deeks. The dime from Smith to Williams. Bump, but play on. Some more stick-to-itiveness. But it ends up in a foul on Aminu, and that would be number 3 on Al-Farouq Aminu.
LD Williams might have been whacked. Not on the first shot. He double-clutched, kind of a dipsy-do circus shot. But after regaining possession of the ball, went back up and felt he was hacked pretty hard by the Bulldogs.
So Aminu picks up his 3rd. With 5:37 to go in the first, and it's been another frustrating game for Aminu. Now 2 for 8 shooting, only 4 points. He came into this game with the last 2 games, just 7 field goals in 11 turnovers. Aminu.
Here's the dipsy-do shot. Need to take that stronger, but might have been all leather. Clean swipe.
Good look at it there from the camera under the basket. Looked a lot cleaner from that angle.
Sacre with the stab at the ball. Up at the block.
Gonzaga lead back to 8. Bolden has 10 in the early going to lead all scorers in the game, along with a couple of assists and a couple of rebounds. So with Aminu on the bench, where does Wake go offensively? Air ball 3 from LD Williams, the senior captain. Eight-point game now. Gonzaga's led by as many as 13 in the first half. Goodson turns the corner to Sacre. Foul by David Weaver.
This Gonzaga team, very cohesive. Unselfish basketball on display. Looking for the open man. Sign of a well-coached team here. The high ball screen by Sacre. The give up by Goodson. Able to draw the foul. Steps to the charity stripe for 2.
Missing for the second time from the strike. Sacre, his father, Greg LaFleur, athletic director at Southern University, former NFL tight end out of LSU, but his mom, Leslie, also a great athlete. She played basketball at LSU. Sacre gets the second, back to a 9-point edge for Gonzaga.
Matchup zone defense. You see Gonzaga bump cutters, the keys communicating, finding the ball, matching up with the opponents in their area.
Clark Forces the long two. Harris there for the rebound. He trips over his teammate Grant Gibbs. Goodson there to help him out. Dimitri Goodson, the sophomore from Spring, Texas, gives it up. Bolden to Sacre. The Bulldogs are rolling.
Bolden can cut you up like a surgeon. Once again, his vision, his sense or feel for the game. They are truly a pick-your-poison team. If you collapse inside, they can bomb you from long distance. Bolden, Gray, and Goodson all capable of shooting the ball. If you stretch to the three-point line, they could pound you inside with their bigs.
Gary Clark with the two to silence the crowd for the time being. Bring it back to a single-digit Gonzaga lead, 29-20. Travel called against Harris and Gonzaga. Well, one of the fun parts of early December, you got basketball going on, you got football going on. We'll tell you about some of the fantastic finishes on the gridiron and the hardwood coming up. Thanks, scary moment there for Evan Turner, one of the stars in college basketball so far in 2009 with that nasty spill.
First-team All-American candidate. Evan Turner's versatility at 6'7", so critical if the Buckeyes are going to make a run this year in both Big Ten play and in the NCAA tournament.
Here in Spokane, Washington, Gonzaga used a 15-0 run against the Wake Forest team that's struggling offensively, but back comes Wake. Smith with the teardrop.
Nice alignment there coming out of the timeout. Well devised by Dino Gaudio. The high ball screen, flatten everyone else at the baseline. Give space to your speed merchant. Ishmael Smith.
Goodson finds Sacre, can't finish. Here comes Smith again. Pushing
Beeper looking aggressive here. Look at the spin. Sacre says none of that. Not here, big fella.
Sending Gonzaga on the run. Goodson to a trailing Bolden for three. Stick back is waved off. Foul against Gonzaga. Wipes out the basket by Grant Gibbs. They're going to call Gibbs for over the back.
That's his first.
Well, out of the half court, the high pick by Weaver. And then look at Ishmael Smith, able to split defenders, get into the lane in the high lift on that choke shot. Puts it over the top of the trees.
Connor Tucker to the line. Missing the front end of the 1-and-1. Making him 1 of 3 from the foul line early in his Wake Forest career.
I'm Wake Forest and Dino Gaudio. I'm not sure I don't go back to that set and run it until they stop it. Look at the no-look pass by Matt Bolden. Harris with the easy dunk.
4 assists now for Matt Bolden to go along with his 10 points.
He is putting on a clinic, reminiscent of John Stockton in terms of his sense, his feel for the game, the delivery, the dimes, one after another in terms of his passes.
But longer short for Matt Bolden.
True.
C.J. Harris for 3. A foul away from the basketball. McFarland went down hard. This was away from the basketball. Foul called against Elias Harris for Gonzaga.
Can't hurt McFarland. We're going to check the monitor to see if it's a flagrant. Oh, no room for that in college basketball. Harris just took his forearm and shivered it into McFarland's neck area. It's one thing to put the arm bar, another to go up into the neck or the head area. Won't be surprised if he doesn't get ejected.
The rulebook says a flagrant personal foul shall be a personal foul that involves severe contact with an opponent or involves contact that is extreme in nature while the ball is live. You would think that would be defined as severe contact with an opponent. This is one of the scenarios where the officials can go to the monitor to determine if a flagrant foul was committed.
Absolutely no room for that. No excuse. It's one thing to play with intensity, but there still has to be a level of poise, composure, intelligence, and most importantly, sportsmanship. And clearly, Harris there with a lack of sportsmanship, not what Mark Few or his staff would teach on a daily basis in practice. So that's just someone losing their cool. Take a look again in the basket area. Garland taking the shot right to the neck area. Very dangerous play.
And John Hughes, the head of the officiating crew, along with Bert Smith and Wally Ritecki, will get together and discuss this. Again, they went to the video monitor to determine if that was a flagrant foul, live ball foul. Section 29, Article 2 in the rule book. Here it is again.
Once again, if the forearm's put into the chest, in terms of teaching or technique on box out, we often, as coaches, tell our players to turn, locate an opponent, put the forearm on the chest, pivot, turn, create space, and then go to the glass. But that was a shot into the neck area, and once you start moving up to the neck and the head area, you're in danger of even getting tossed from a game.
So John Hughes bringing both head coaches over to explain the ruling and explain the consequences, and we will pass that along, obviously, as soon as the officials make it clear to us.
And I don't think that play is indicative of Harris as a person, as an athlete. It's unfortunate because the lack of sportsmanship here is going to be run over the next 24 hours in the sports news cycle, and the focus will be on that one play as opposed to Gonzaga as a team being in the top 25 and playing so well here in November and December. And I know it'll be a teaching point for Mark Few and their staff with this Gonzaga team.
Foul on the play. Fouls number 15, Matt Bolden. Harris shooting 3.
Well, he is going to be ejected, Carter.
Now Bert Smith coming over to tell us it's an ejection against Elias Harris, a flagrant personal foul against Elias Harris.
Well, that was my thinking all along when I initially saw the intent to use the forearm shiver, kind of a Red Grange move right to the neck. Going back in the day, Red Grange now, that predates both of us.
And again, the definition of a flagrant personal foul live ball involves severe contact with an opponent or involves contact that is extreme in nature while the ball is live. Not much doubt after that replay that is severe contact in an extreme nature with a forearm shiver to the neck.
And a major turning point here in many respects. To lose the services of Harris, one of your most valuable players. Wake Forest taking advantage of the free throws as well as possession. And Mark Few and staff not happy at this point with the call, but I believe when they review the replays, they'll understand that there's no room for that. And Harris is going to have to leave the house.
John Hughes came over. Harris was sitting on the bench. John Hughes says, ejected from the game, that means he has to leave the playing court, go back to the Gonzaga locker room. So Gonzaga freshman Elias Harris has been ejected from the game for a flagrant personal foul, live ball foul with the forearm to the neck of Wake Forest Chase McFarland.
The 3-ball from the deep corner. Stewart. What a change of events, a momentum swing.
Wake Forest down by 13 in the middle of this first half after Gonzaga went on a 15-0 run. Now it's Wake on an 11-2 run to get within 2 against Gonzaga. Bolden slips. Travel called on Bolden. Wake will get it back with 1:35 to go in the half.
this is a major run by the Demon Deacons. And caught napping. Gonzaga in transition, the flush by Woods. A great look up the floor. And this is as dramatic a turn of events as I can remember in a game in a number of years. This is a stunned and salty, angry crowd here in Spokane. But I think they have to look at themselves. Gonzaga just let this one get away from them, Carter, and it all started with that Harris forearm shiver into McFarland's neck.
The dunk by Tony Woods evens it at 31 all. 1:29 to go in the half. So a 15-0 run by Gonzaga. They led by 13. Harris ejected because of the flagrant personal foul. So Harris is gone from the game. Steve, you just said this is as dramatic a turnaround as you've seen in a long time in the first half of a basketball game.
Well, the Deacons are on an 8-0 run now. They've taken full advantage between converting on the free throw line, knocking down a 3-ball in the deep corner, catching Gonzaga napping in transition. And then, of course, Gonzaga losing the services of Harris, which is the real blow come the second half.
And it is an angry McCarthy Athletic Center crowd that Wake is fighting its way back into this game against. Gonzaga needs a bucket. You go to Matt Bolden on the glass. Bulldogs back on top.
Well, the veteran Bolden uses the window, the old bank shot, a lost art, not on Matt Bolden.
Gonzaga led by 13 points. It was 22-9, a 15-0 run by the Bulldogs to take command of the game. Wake has fought back, almost literally, to make this a two-point game.
And let's give Wake credit here. Opportunistic, taking advantage, cashing in of Gonzaga's breakdown. So it's partially a collapse, but also a comeback.
Foul called against Wake Forest, L.D. Williams. Two-point Gonzaga lead on Wake, under 30 seconds to go.
A 13-2 run.
A rock shot won't go.
One shot now for Wake Forest. Already a 13-2 run, a chance to extend, sustain, or continue this dramatic run.
Stewart for three. And Wake Forest takes the lead at the half.
And a 16-2 run, Carter, by the Demon Deacons. A furious rally. We've got ourselves a ball game. Buckle up for the second half.
Wake Forest, trailing by 13, comes back to take the lead at the half, 34-33. Now let's join Wendy Nix in the game for the halftime report. Back in Spokane, Washington, the McCarthy Athletic Center, Wake Forest has an improbable one-point lead on Gonzaga. I'm Carter Blackburn with Steve Lavin, and what a wild first half highlighted by the ejection for Elias Harris.
Well, a classic example of momentum and how a game can turn on a dime, and it all began with this play. As we take a look, a foul on the three-point shooter under the basket area. We're going to see fierce post play between Harris and McFarland. Watch McFarland's elbow that comes up and grazes Harris in the chin, but Harris comes back with a brutal, violent jab into McFarland's neck. And the Deacons take full advantage, converting from the foul line, as well as making the field goal off the dead ball.
It was essentially a 7-point swing, so there was a foul on the three-point shot. That made it a dead ball. We visited with John Hughes at halftime just to get a clarification. It was a dead ball, flagrant technical foul, so there were 3 shots on the three-pointer. Then there were 2 shots for the technical foul. Wake got the basketball, made a 3. So out of that, 7 straight for Wake. It was a 12-2 Wake Forest run after the foul and the ejection of Harris to give Wake a 1-point lead at the half. So Gonzaga gets the first possession, a miss from Olenek, and a miss from Sacre. And here we go. 1-point Wake Forest lead after they trailed by as many as 13 in the first half.
These first 5 minutes always critical coming out of the locker room, but in particular when you've had a momentum swing, as we witnessed at the end of that first half. Does Gonzaga reclaim the momentum, or the Deacons continue on a run?
Williams missing a three. Bobby Sacre with the rebound. Goodson brings it back for Gonzaga. Leading scorer for Gonzaga is Matt Bolden. He gives it up to Goodson. Gray doesn't have a shot. Gonzaga's third leading scorer. And on just the second possession, he bricks it.
Sacre with the rebound inside, muscling his way on a second effort, able to draw the foul from McFarland as he'll shoot to 2 free throws.
Take a look at the first half numbers. Wake Forest with a terrible shooting start. They get hot at the end to make it 32%. A 16-4 run overall by Wake Forest. 12-2 run after the ejection of Harris.
Well, Gonzaga in a situation now a bit stunned, like deer in the headlights. They need to have some possessions, have some success offensively, start to feel good about themselves again, and try and recapture that momentum. Wake Forest wants to continue to build off their late rush against Gonzaga.
Even at 34, Wake Forest team who's lost its last 2. They lost at home to William and Mary by 10. Then they lost earlier this week on the road at Purdue. And an offensive foul called against Al-Farouq Aminu. That is number 4 against the sophomore big man for Wake Forest.
Number 42, L.D. Williams, his first.
Now, correction. The foul was against Williams, which is his first. And that's a break for Wake Forest. It's not against Aminu. It's against Williams. That's his first. Bolden finds a wide open Kelly Olynyk. Jump ball as Olynyk manages to get the rarely seen wedge shot.
See that more often in Nerf basketball when you're playing in the living room as a kid. Unusual area for the peach or the leather to get stuck, wedged between the backboard and the side of the rim. If you try and do that, it might take you 100 attempts before you can actually squeeze one in there.
If you try that in a game of horse, then you're winning the game. You're winning that letter.
In particular from long distance.
Harris off the catch, gives it back to Ishmael Smith. Aminu banging on the post with Olynyk. Al-Farouq Aminu draws a double, and he walked.
Well, good double by Gonzaga. Just a collective awareness for where Aminu is on the floor. And every time he gets a catch, he's going to be swarmed like bees on honey down in the post by white jerseys.
Last 3 games, Aminu has more turnovers than field goals. Gray off the catch, 3, no, and he's 0 for 2 shooting. Rebound battle won by Wake. Harris throwing it off of Olynyk in front of the Gonzaga bench.
The Harris ejection, the subsequent run by Wake Forest has unnerved Gonzaga. A bit rattled, which is understandable. They have to reclaim some momentum, some semblance of rhythm.
McFarland for 3. The big man who hadn't hit one in over a year misses again. Smith to the hole. Over Sacre. McFarland there for the finish.
Penetration by Ishmael Smith. We see Goodson come right back, and he gets one of his own. There's the one-man fast break, the beep beeper. Dimitri Goodson.
Even at 36.
I was going to say on that last possession was the penetration. Good defense by Goodson there, smothering Ishmael Smith.
Ahead to Bolden.
Goaltending.
Touched by Smith. Count the bucket.
Good call. You are starting to see the track meet that we anticipated at the outset of this broadcast. See Goodson with the finish.
Back to Wake Forest, number 44.
2-point Gonzaga lead in the building where the Bulldogs have only been beaten 3 times in the 5th year of the McCarthy Athletic Center. Gonzaga is 65-3 here all time. Only Santa Clara, Washington State, and Portland State last year have defeated Gonzaga in this building. C.J. Harris's 3 gives Wake Forest a 1-point lead again.
Boy, is Harris a cool customer. A freshman with ice in his veins on the road, a tough environment, dialing up the three ball.
In his first career start, he has 12 points for a Wake Forest team that had been struggling shooting the basketball.
Harris making the most of his opportunity. Dino Gaudio with the green light.
Gray missing either a shot or a lob to the hoop as his offensive struggles continue.
Well, Ishmael Smith with the delivery, and Goodson slow to get out on that closeout. You give Harris any daylight, he will tickle the twine.
Smith to Aminu at the high post. Aminu stripped by Gray. Smith gets it back, drops it for Williams, who's fouled by Sacre.
We're starting to see Goodson and Ishmael Smith both utilize their speed at the offensive end of the court. Good penetration and drop off by Ishmael Smith to Williams. That's the ability to get into the lane, get Gonzaga defenders to help uphill, and the dump off pass to Williams.
You know, asked Ishmael Smith the last couple of years. I mean, he gets injured. He gets his playing time taken away by Jeff Teague. Wake Forest disappointing into last year, losing in the first round to Cleveland State. Said, would you describe it as frustrating? He says, no, it's been fun. Really? Fun? Yeah. He said, you know, through it all, I've learned a lot. I've experienced a lot. It's all been fun. Kind of like a roller coaster ride, the ups and downs. Sacre missing the hook. Olynyk battling for the board. It's Weaver who comes away with it for Wake Forest.
The Deeks, an aggressive effort here.
L.D. Williams misses. Sacre boards. Weaver steals it from Bolden. Give it back to L.D. Williams. Can't finish over Sacre. It's Smith there for the tip.
The second effort, and again, just the aggressiveness. The Deacons have been ignited, and as a result, playing on their toes, and you're seeing that assertive approach at both ends of the floor, defensively, bringing the energy, and then offensively with the second shots, the effort, attacking the iron.
Substitution with Wake up by 5. It was the Demon Deacons down by 13 in the first half, but C.J. Harris shooting the Demon Deacons back into it.
And a 25-9 run by Wake Forest on Gonzaga.
Plus beat cancer. The V Foundation will proudly award 100% of your donation directly to fund cancer research. Log on to jimmyv.org or call 1-800-4-JIMMY-V to donate. Jimmy V Week continues from Spokane, Washington, the McCarthy Athletic Center, where Wake Forest has come back from a 13-point deficit in the first half against the Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Well, and Carter, we talked about aggressiveness, and Gonzaga set the tone early. There's been the counter-punching by Wake Forest, and now the Zags looking to have a little counter-punch of their own. Great block by Ishmael Smith.
He has done it everywhere on the floor, in transition, rebounding, and now a blocked shot for the senior out of Concord, North Carolina.
And Wake Forest dominating the Bulldogs on the boards, 30-19. Goodson with the technical foul.
Technical foul on Dimitri Goodson. After the foul was called on Olynyk, Goodson bounced the basketball in midcourt. So Olynyk gets a personal, Dimitri Goodson gets a personal, and a technical foul.
Boy, the bleeding continues. Murphy's Law here. What a stretch for Gonzaga. I think Dimitri Goodson was more just frustrated, but again, you've got to use some sense in terms of poise, exhibiting a level of calm in the midst of competition.
Wake Forest used the last Gonzaga technical foul as a springboard when Elias Harris committed the flagrant personal foul and was ejected. The score was 31-22 in favor of Gonzaga. Wake responded with a 12-2 run. It's now a 26-9 run for Wake Forest.
And these are all coachable or teachable moments for Gonzaga. But I think Mark Few's seen enough of the teachable moments. He wants to see a breakthrough here by his Bulldog team. Now keep in mind, they have shown a propensity this year, Carter, to make comebacks in a number of games.
Aminu 3 goes down, and El Farouk Aminu has just his third made basket of the game. 7 for the Wake big man, 9-point Wake lead.
And good little two-man game between Harris and Aminu. make an easy play, looking for one another.
From down 13, Wake Forest has its largest lead, up by 9 against 16th ranked Gonzaga.
You can just see the body language, the puffed out chest by Wake Forest, feeling good about themselves.
Sacre foul.
Little two-man game on one side of the floor that we alluded to earlier, Carter. And the Deacons in rhythm. Aminu with the catch and shoot. And that came off some nice playmaking by Harris.
And the foul was called on Al-Farouq Aminu. That is his 4th personal foul. So Aminu will have to go to the bench for Wake right as he was getting in an offensive rhythm. Aminu knocking down the 3, giving him 7 points in the game, and he will have to sit on the Wake bench. Chase McFarland subbed in by Wake coach Dino Gaudio.
If you're Dino Gaudio, you're pleased that your team has caught fire from the perimeter, because that stretches defenses. It opens up the seams in a defense to allow for dribble penetration by Ishmael Smith, excellent playmaker off the bounce, and also creates space and time for the Deacon big men to go to work down low.
Gonzaga used a 15-0 run in the middle of the first half to take a 13-point edge on Wake. The Demon Deacons presently on a 29-10 run to take what is now an 8-point edge. Aminu on the bench, into the post anyway with Weaver. McFarland gets it back for Wake. Shot clock under 10. Stewart for 3. And Ari Stewart has been a huge boost off the bench for Wake with 3 made threes, 9 in the game for the freshman from Georgia.
Well, and Carter, again, not to belabor the point, but basketball, a game of runs, and momentum so important. And it's contagious. Right now, all the Deacons contributing.
Goodson can't hit. Arap can't follow. 3rd chance, Manny Arap.
That's what you have to do if you're Gonzaga. Try and generate some points, create some offense by doing some dirty work. Get on the glass, get to the foul line.
And doing it with defense now, leading to transition. Bolden throws it away. Was it touched by Wake?
Official's going to get some help. Little teamwork, communicating.
Touched by Wake Forest, Gonzaga basketball.
There's an example of good communication by the officiating crew. We talk about the importance of officiating by the players and coaches, but important for officials too. Right on it, clearly, off the Deacons, Gonzaga ball.
John Hughes and his crew have made some tough calls in this game.
Well, that's the important thing. Get the call right. I'd rather have them put their heads together, be a couple seconds late, and get the correct call.
Timeout Gonzaga with Wake up 9. Saturday afternoon in Spokane. I mean, Gonzaga up big in the first half. Elias Harris gets ejected. Wake comes back. Another technical foul against Dimitri Goodson for Gonzaga, and now it's Wake up by 9. I mean, just kind of another ho-hum ball game, right, Steve?
Well, as we take a look at the critical juncture here, the 3-ball, the foul on Bolden, but underneath the basket, this is where you want to watch. The takedown by Harris, the ejection, and it's been a 28-10 run since that point.
Bolden missing a 3, continuing Wake Forest run. And that foul was committed by Harris. The score was 31-22 in favor of Gonzaga, meaning since then, since the foul, Wake Forest has outscored Gonzaga 28-10. A 14-3 run in the last 4 minutes, a 32-10 run overall. And Ari Stewart continues his hot shooting off the bench, 4 for 4 from behind the arc.
Wake Forest and Stewart shredding the nets from all angles. And again, that contagious factor, moving screen by Arap.
Second personal on Manny Arap.
And sometimes when your team is facing a run like this, you just need something good to happen, like a tourniquet, something to stop the bleeding. And then you can start to build. And the best way to do that is get some stops or shutouts defensively, generate some dirty work baskets at the offensive end to put back a stick back or get yourself to the foul line.
This has been kind of bizarro world compared to Gonzaga's other games where they've had to come back. McFarland feeding inside to Gary Clark.
Oh, a great look. Kind of the baseline flex cut. Gonzaga with the breakdown defensively.
Foul called against David Weaver for Wake, as the Demon Deacons have opened up a 14-point edge at Gonzaga.
The level of aggressiveness, offensively in sync, dialing up the 3-ball, and Gonzaga 3 of the last 13 from the field. And Bolden short on that free throw.
The Bulldogs were rolling with a big come-from-behind win earlier this week against Washington State on Wednesday night. They were down 13 with 12 to go. Came back to win it here at the McCarthy Athletic Center to run their home record in this building. In its 5th year, replacing the old kennel, the Martin Center. 65-3 in this building. Can Wake Forest become just the 4th ever team to beat Gonzaga in the McCarthy Athletic Center?
Well, a real dilemma for Gonzaga because Wake Forest has caught fire from long range, but they want to continue to play that zone defense. And of course, a thin bench for Mark Few without having Harris's service here in the second half.
Wake has made its last 4 3-point shots. Finally a miss from the Demon Deacons as Gary Clark is off the mark.
And if you're Mark Few and Gonzaga, you just need to chip away. There's no 13-point possession. But if you can get a stop, execute, get another stop, put together another successful offensive possession, get it under double digits, you're on your home court, get the crowd back in the game.
Bull Kong off the bench with a 3-point shot to get the McCarthy Athletic Center fans back on their feet.
Well, sometimes you get that unexpected contribution. Another way to generate a rally if you're Gonzaga.
Bull Kong, the native of Sudan who escaped the Sudanese Civil War, came to Canada. Now a Gonzaga Bulldog. Wake Forest answers with 2 from Ari Stewart.
Ari Stewart, the microwave, productive minutes. Somebody get a fire extinguisher, shut his water off.
Gray fouled inside. A Wake Forest team that has struggled to shoot the ball. Slow start today, but they have been on fire since.
Well, tonight from all angles, comfortable, dialing up. Marksman tickling the twine. It has been 8 for 15 from long range. And Wake just comfortable right now offensively. Looking for one another. Sharing the sugar here in Spokane.
Wake over 50% from behind the line. One of the keys in their William and Mary game, they just were jacking threes against a William and Mary zone defense. 36 threes they shot against William and Mary. They made only 10 of them. So better shot selection, better percentage here. Off the miss. Arap can't get the stick back. Play on. Wake Forest does. Ish Smith using the screen from Woods. Sacre boards it.
Now Smith should have gone to the window or the square on that particular shot.
Wake by 11. Bull Kong again. Back-to-back made threes from Bull Kong off the bench.
We expected, or we just mentioned, the unexpected contributions. And Bull Kong going to work.
The sophomore from Vancouver, British Columbia, originally from the Sudan, with a pair of threes off the bench to give Gonzaga the spark it needed to get back in this game. With 10-11 to go, back to a single-digit lead for Wake.
Well, that's so important to get it under double digits. Bull Kong on the quick ball reversal around the horn by Gonzaga. Crisp ball movement. See Mark Few imploring his troops to get a shutout defensively. And on the flip side, Dino Gaudio saying to keep the pedal to the metal. They want to continue to force tempo. If they don't have opportunities in transition, then get into your sets. Play inside, outside basketball. Wake Forest with the bigs to play through for inside, outside attack.
Steve, you talked about how it's been such a key to Mark Few's success at Gonzaga, playing a very difficult non-conference schedule already this year. They have gone to Michigan State. They went to Maui, beat Colorado, Wisconsin, Cincinnati, beat Washington State, still to come, Davidson, Duke, Oklahoma, Memphis. So even though it's a relatively inexperienced Gonzaga team, already they've been through a lot of wars just like this.
Well, when you play top teams, we look at the lob over the top. McFarland able to catch and draw the foul. But when you play top-ranked teams, it gives you a chance early in the season to get an assessment or a report card on the strengths and weaknesses of your basketball team. And then there's enough time in practice in November, December, enough time to watch game film, to do the drill work, to build a better basketball team. So when you step into conference play, you're hitting on all cylinders, and most importantly, you're building for the postseason in March.
Foul was on Sacre. McFarland gets both of the free throws.
And coaches are architects, Carter. They basically have to build a team. There's 3 phases to a season. November, December is the first phase of the season. Then there's your conference play, and then your postseason is the 3rd stage of the marathon. And what's most importantly is how you play come March. And Mark Few understands these early challenges set his teams up for the runs come March.
Last year's Sweet 16 again for Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs.
And here are the early season objectives, Carters. Clearly you want to build conditioning levels, build good basketball habits, passing and catching, drill work, implement your system or style of play, identify and establish roles, get your players to embrace those roles. That's how you build team chemistry, and then develop a substitution pattern that you're comfortable with. Easier said than done, but that's the objectives of November and December before you step into conference play come January. And then in January, February, you have different goals. Now it's about getting into the second half of league play and running your counters like a chess match. And then the postseason, you put it all together and hope you have that deep run.
Foul on Wake Forest, Tony Woods. That's his 3rd. Ishmael Smith setting Wake Forest in the half-court offense. Ari Stewart rises and hits, and Ari Stewart continues his career day. He's only a freshman, but 16 points, the best game of his Wake career.
Well, clearly Stewart with the hot hand, and Gonzaga's going to have to make adjustments as Gray able to draw the foul as he drives to the hoop. But whether you're in a zone or man, the Bulldogs have got to have an awareness, a 911 sense of urgency for where Stewart is on the floor. So if you're in a zone, you have to cheat towards him. If you're man-to-man, you want to make him catch a little farther outside his comfort zone, or when he gives the ball up, deny him catches, make him work to get the ball back. Anything to disrupt his comfort level, his hot hand.
That foul was against Wake Forest. Weaver is 4th. Ari Stewart with 16 now for Wake Forest. That leads the Demon Deacons out of one of the top high school programs in the country. Marietta, Georgia's Wheeler High School, where he led Wheeler to its 4th state title this decade. Earlier they had J.J. Hickson in that program, now playing in the NBA. And as much as Dino Gaudio loves the offense from Ari Stewart, Dino Gaudio, known as a defensively tough coach, he loves the matchup that a 6'7" long guy brings.
Well, Dino Gaudio deserving some credit today with the game plan, the resiliency, and he's flanked by some excellent assistants as well. Jeff Battle and Dave Wojcik, Rusty LaRue, former standout at Wake Forest, career in the NBA, who joined the brain trust of the Deacon staff.
Rusty was a great baseball player as well for the Deacons. Stewart again, missing over Bull Kong. Gonzaga brings it back, trailing by 9. This is Bull behind the screen. Stewart skies for the board.
Well, Stewart getting it done at both ends of the floor, contributing, influencing this game, both offensively and defensively.
Harris shot fake. And fouled after the dribble by Sacre. Tonight, final piece of the championship puzzle will be in place in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship game. It's Texas versus Nebraska. Championship weekend game on ABC tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
That's your neck of the woods, huh? Texas?
Longhorns, Colton Coy in Texas with that incredible offensive showing against Texas A&M. But Pelini's got Nebraska playing some stout defense. They are 3rd in the nation in defense, playing in an offensive league in the Big 12.
Well, no surprise, as Pelini was an excellent defensive coordinator for years as an assistant coach, and has stepped in comfortably as the head coach of the Cornhuskers.
Champions of the Big 12 North against undefeated Texas tonight on ABC. Olynyk off the dribble, gets fouled, and one.
Good look by Olynyk. Keep in mind, 6'11", but the skills of a two-guard. Nice throwback to the big fella on the perimeter from Stephen Gray, and I like the fact he takes big steps, not a lot of wasted dribble. One bounce from behind the three-point line is able to take it all the way to the rim. Chance for the old-fashioned three-point play, comes up short. You know, so often players will waste a dribble. They'll massage the basketball. On that catch by Olynyk from behind the three-point. Good lesson for young players. Now, of course, he's got very long strides at 6'11".
Gonzaga from the free throw line tonight, 57%. 12 of 21.
Too early for Wake to put it on ice, but they do want to use the clock, be prudent with their shot selection, but not lose their aggressiveness. Sometimes a team will put it in ice too soon.
Smith making sure
that is
the
ideal.
heat stays on.
Yep. Get deep into the clock. Smith space to operate. Put it in his hands. The easy jumper.
Bolden wants it on the backside for Gonzaga. Instead, Gray is fouled by Harris.
Take a look at the space for the little fella, the beep.
Wake Forest came all the way from Winston-Salem to Spokane, Washington to get a test, and they're locked in a good one. But an 11-point lead for a Wake team that lost a couple guys to the NBA, continuing the trend of ACC to the NBA.
And you have to tip your cap or applaud Dino Gaudio for playing this tough schedule. And he lost 2 of the players here from the ACC who were drafted in 2009. As you see, James Johnson, a talented, versatile frontline player who moved on, as well as Jeff Teague, an outstanding combo guard. And the fact that Dino Gaudio has been able to reload, have a competitive team for this season, and an outstanding recruiting class coming in the 2010-2011 campaign.
James Johnson went 16th to the Chicago Bulls. Jeff Teague 19th to the Atlanta Hawks, part of that great point guard class in last year's draft.
Well, the ACC tied with the Big East for most players lost from last year. And that's what makes both those conferences' ability to reload and have depth so impressive.
Gray gets both of the free throws. Foul on the other end against the Bulldogs.
Well, once again, a one-man offense, and that's good coaching. Put the ball in the hands of Ishmael Smith. No one can guard him. He breaks down defenders and has the ability to read and recognize, make those split-second decisions. And as a teammate, you help Ishmael Smith make a second play by being alert and sliding to openings, as McFarland did under the basket on that possession.
The voice of the Demon Deacon, Stan Cotton, reminding me that the late Skip Prosser, former Wake Forest head coach, said that Ishmael Smith probably quicker with the ball in his hands than even Chris Paul.
Well, I mentioned early, we've got the all Roadrunner list, and Ishmael Smith right there with John Wall, Dimitri Goodson, Jerome Randall, and a couple others.
Smith tips that away from Bolden on the post. Probably no coincidence out of the timeout. First Gonzaga offensive possession, trying to get the ball in the hands of Matt Bolden any way possible.
There's still plenty of time, Carter. You can't panic.
John Hughes spies a foul somewhere in there.
You take a look here at the all beeper Roadrunner team. Kemba Walker of Connecticut there down at the bottom. Isaiah Thomas, another outstanding guard up here in the Northwest. Ishmael Smith and Dimitri Goodson, we've had a chance to see today up here in Spokane. And John Wall, the outstanding freshman for the Kentucky Wildcats. And what a win for them over North Carolina, 2 of the most storied programs in the history of college basketball, fighting it out.
Eric Bledsoe with some key free throws down the stretch, giving Kentucky the win over North Carolina. Here Olynyk missing the second after the foul on Stewart. But the game saw Isaiah Thomas on that list. Washington in a tough test Thursday night, losing at Texas Tech. There have been some really good games as part of V Week. Began with Duke at Wisconsin. We got another good one here with Wake Forest trying to hang on against Gonzaga. It was the Bulldogs up by 13 in the first half. Key moment in the ball game. Elias Harris getting a flagrant technical foul, ejected. Wake Forest responded with a 28-10 run. And this was when Gonzaga had a 31-22 lead at this point in the game when Harris gives a forearm shiver to McFarland.
Well, the Deacons took advantage. This is the three-point shot to finish out the half as the Deacons go into the locker room with great momentum and on a ferocious tear against Gonzaga. And really, the Bulldogs have never reclaimed or recaptured that momentum. Still, 6:47 in the game, plenty of time. But Gonzaga's going to have to settle down. They're playing with a bit of angst or anxiety. And, of course, they don't have the services of Harris, who was so critical in the Bulldogs' comeback earlier this week against Washington State.
He had 21 second-half points in that come-from-behind win against Wazoo. Timeout by Smith as he was pressured by Gray.
Good timeout by Dino Gaudio. Wanted to take the crowd out of the game, get his team organized, make sure they get a good look at the basket, understand time, score, and situations.
And a bull
dominating up until the ejection because of the flagrant foul by Harris. And then there's been Wake Forest dominating since. And now the Zags trying to counterpunch and crawl back into this game on their home court.
Aminu back into the game with 4 personal fouls. He's bumping down low with Manny Aram. Size advantage there for Aminu. Wake can't get him the ball, though. Shot clock under 10.
High pick and roll for Ishmael Smith.
Smith splits it, spins, and drops it with 3 seconds on the shot clock.
Wow, the razzle-dazzle by the diminutive one. Small in size and stature, but a big game.
Bolden around the screen, tries to squeeze it into Olynyk. Arap helps him out, missing. Battle for the rebound. It's Smith going flying into the first row of Gonzaga fans.
Again, Dino Gaudio wisely given some space. There's the high pick and roll. And let the little man go to work. Little Marcus Haynes. Again, the high pick, crossover between the legs, the Barishnikov spin, money.
Off the inbound, Bull Kong finds a wide open Stephen Gray.
Breakdown defensively by the Deacons.
8 second-half points for Stephen Gray. Gonzaga back within 7. Offensive foul called on McFarland. That's 5 on Chase McFarland, and the first foul out of the game comes with 5:35 to go in regulation.
You sense a little momentum change here. As McFarland fouls out, Dino Gaudio going to take advantage by huddling up with his team. He goes to Aminu, who will substitute in for the home stretch. Boy, it looked incidental to me. McFarland just trying to spread out, get those hands, those catcher's mitts up and out, target for the ball. Tough one. And if there is contact, clearly incidental. From that angle, looked like a little bit of a better call.
Took the elbow high, and that is one of the points of emphasis this year in college basketball, is trying to eliminate some excessive elbows.
No shots to the neck or the head. No violent shots. I don't think that was an intentional foul.
McFarland fouls out. Gonzaga brings it back. 5.5 to go. 7-point game. It's been back and forth between Wake Forest and Gonzaga in the first ever meeting on the hardwood between the Demon Deacons and the Bulldogs.
The Zags can score here, get the crowd into the game. There'll be a big shift in momentum.
Gray triple. Smith skies for the board, and Ishmael Smith has done it all for Wake Forest.
And a good stop on the half court by Wake Forest. Contested shots
Smith, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists in the game. Williams misses, Arap boards. Into the corner for Bol Kong. Nine off the bench for Kong, 4-point game. Aminu off the feed from Smith, missing along two, or off for the board again.
And you could feel the surge, a power surge in Spokane here as Gonzaga inches their way back into this ball game.
Skip pass, Bolden for two.
Good call. Excellent shot fake by Matt Bolden, puts the defender in the popcorn popper with that shot fake, raise the defender, one bounce, draws the foul. That is picture perfect basketball. On the catch, crafty, deceptive shot fake, the flyby, just enough space or daylight, and draws the foul.
Bolden leads all scorers with 18. That foul was against L.D. Williams' second. Gonzaga shoots at least 2 for the rest of the game.
You know, I've said before on earlier broadcasts, Matty Bolden reminds me a lot of Chris Mullin. He's smaller, not as prolific a scorer, but his movement without the ball, his sense of feel for the game is uncanny. Very similar to Chris Mullin, the old St. John.
.7-0 run by Gonzaga to pull within 2. Arap strips Smith. Ishmael Smith gets it back. Shot clock under 10. Smith, teardrop. Weaver follows for 2.
Boy, good one-handed controlled tip by Weaver on the glass.
Gray splits the double. Strong to the hoop. Harris bumped. No shot. 2-point game, 3 minutes to go as the brawny Bulldogs fall in line.
Rated Stephen Gray with 10 points here in the second half. Watch him here on the out of bounds. He's the inbounder. Oftentimes the most dangerous player offensively. He's going to end up getting the ball inside for the easy basket. And then here off the high pick and roll, splits defenders and gets the easy deuce.
Gray, Gonzaga's third leading scorer, didn't attempt a shot in the first half. Has 10 second half points, 6 of those from the free throw line. And the defensive specialist who did a great job on Washington State's Klay Thompson earlier this week, holding him 13 below his nation-leading scoring average, showing the offensive punch here in the second half. It has been a game of tremendous runs. Gonzaga, a 15-0 run in the first half to take a 13-point lead on Wake. Demon Deacons responded with a 37-12 run. Key play in the game was Elias Harris, the Gonzaga freshman, being ejected. And now here we go for the final 3 minutes of regulation in what is now a 4-point game. Ready for the last 3 here, Steve?
Doesn't get much better than this environment.
Only 3 teams have ever won here at the McCarthy Athletic Center. Bol Kong with another 3.
Well, Bol Kong has made up for the absence of Harris here in the second half. He clearly has neutralized or offset the absence of Harris.
Blocking foul called against Olenek on the defensive end. That'll send C.J. Harris to the line. No shot. 2 shots coming from C.J. Harris. Bol Kong with 4 made threes off the bench in the second half for Gonzaga. You talked about how there was going to need to be a spark somewhere for the Bulldogs to get them back in the game. That's come from Stephen Gray and Bol Kong.
Well, give Mark Few credit for making the right call. Like a manager in baseball, knowing when to go to the bullpen with a middle relief or a closer. And that comes from years of experience and having a sense or a feel for your personnel in terms of whose number to call. And that's instinctive. As I've said before, have a hunch, bet a bunch as a coach. And Mark Few with the right call.
Harris gets both on the 1-and-1s. That was the 9th team foul against Gonzaga. Next foul puts them both in the double bonus. Wake still up 3. Matt Bolden gives it up to Gray. Stephen Gray finds Bolkong. This time Aminu with him on the catch, so a tough 2. Battle for the rebound, touched by Wake. Bulldogs keep it.
And Gonzaga going with the old NBA approach offensively. Play through the hot hand. Bolkong feeling it, why not? Go right back to him. Probe or search the hot hands. I think Stephen Gray and Bolkong feeling it the most.
Bolden from the baseline finds Bolkong. Bolden wants it back. He gets it back and is fouled by David Weaver. No correction, knocked out of bounds. No foul call. Weaver knocks it out. 30 to shoot for Gonzaga. Mark Few takes a timeout knowing that this is a critical possession. Down by 3, 2:09 left in regulation. He's gone.
Well, with the focus on Gray and Bolden, Bolkong has been left open. Opportunistic, probably not what the Demon Deacons thought would be critical today. 4 3-point shots off the bench.
Carter Blackburn with Steve Lavin from the McCarthy Athletic Center, where Gonzaga is 65-3 in the 5-year history of this building. Wake Forest, the 2nd ACC team to ever play here. Virginia came back here a couple of years ago, and we've got a good one for the last 2 minutes plus.
Keep in mind, Carter, Gonzaga has come back 3 times this year from double digits. Against Colorado, against Cincinnati, and most recently against Washington State as Mark Few gets the timeout. So when you have a reference point for having come back in a season, there's a belief or a conviction, a certain degree of faith that you can do it again. You can duplicate those comeback results. And that's
key play in this game came with 2 minutes, 7 seconds to go in the first half. Elias Harris committing a flagrant foul. He was ejected. At that point, it was Gonzaga up by 9. Wake Forest just prior to and after that foul, a 37-12 run.
Watch right here. There's the blow to the chops, to the neck area, the head area. The intent, violent, flagrant, the ejection of Harris. And subsequently, Wake Forest on a dramatic run. But Gonzaga has crawled back into this game, and the deuce on the crossover by Matt Bolden.
The senior leader for Gonzaga makes it a 1-point game.
Gonzaga going to stay in their zone defense, and Dino Gaudio wants to talk it over.
Even in East Lansing.
Had the opportunity there to actually broadcast that game. One more look at Bolden exhibiting the left hand with the shot off the shot clock situation the officials were reviewing.
There you are, the clocks didn't start. So there's going to be a few ticks taken away. That was the possession before. Remember, Wake had it called a timeout. Come tonight on ABC. Wake Forest 15 to shoot.
And there's Aminu with the catch, and there's the other man, Ish Smith, right back to him. Excellently well devised, a little 2-man game, a precise lob to the rim. Aminu with the flush.
Ishmael Smith to Al-Farouq Aminu for the big bucket. Wake by 3. Bolden takes it straight into the Wake defense. Bobby Sacre on the post, stripped by Williams. Loose ball, jump ball call. Possession arrow keeps it with Gonzaga.
Well, thumbs up to Dino Gaudio. Well-devised timeout late in the game. Precisely executed. A little old-school dribble handoff by Aminu. He rolls to the basket, and Ish Smith with an excellent dime or delivery on that pass.
The X's and O's.
Oh, so critical. Late games.
Under a minute to go. Wake Forest leading by 3. They trail by as many as 13 in the first half. led by double digits in the second half. Gray gets the dribble back. Shot clock winding down to the corner. Kahn gives it back to Gray. He beat the buzzer. Shot won't go. Run out chance for Wake. C.J. Harris can't finish. Aminu the board. Fouled on the putback.
Well, Wake Forest at both ends of the floor doing what it takes to close out an opponent in a tough environment. Solid defense. We see here Aminu with the cleanup of the missed shot, able to draw the foul. He will step to the line to shoot 2 as the Deacons are in the double bonus. But Pryor
has picked up his 5th. He's fouled out of the game.
You know, prior to that offensive possession by the Deacons, it was defense, the big shutout here, which was the headline story coming down the stretch.
Aminu going to the free throw line, and amazingly, through 6 games, Aminu has shot 36 free throws. He's done a fantastic job of getting to the free throw line. It's actually his first trip tonight.
Well, he was aggressive too. At times this year he shot the fadeaway or unnecessarily double clutch or dipsy-do. Now he comes up empty on that free throw. Needs to convert this, make it a 2-possession game with 31 seconds.
Aminu misses them both. Gonzaga will have a chance for a 3 to tie it. Shot clock turned off.
The old dilemma, do you foul or not foul?
Nope.
Appears they're not going to foul.
No foul yet. Bolden on the wing. Steps back for 3. Second chance for the Zags. Bolden finds Gray for the tie. Fouled by Aminu. Gray will go to the line for 3 shots and a chance to tie it with 8.1 seconds left.
Well, Carter, the Demon Deacons, Dino Gotti will elect not to foul, but then they foul in the way that you do not want. A nightmare scenario unfolding for the Demon Deacons. Cardinal rule in basketball, don't foul a jump shooter. Need to close out on balance. And clearly there, a poor example of a defensive closeout. You want the high hands to contest a shot, but you need to keep the body balance or the feet in a manner that you don't foul.
And that's the 5th on Al-Farouq Aminu, so he is fouled out of the game.
A valiant effort by Aminu to close out, but just needed to be on balance. Easier said than done in a hotly contested game.
So Stephen Gray going to the free throw line for 3 shots to tie it. 82% foul shooter on the year, Gray. Part of his 10 second half points is 6 of 8 from the free throw stripe, all in the second half. Friendly roll on the first. The junior out of Bainbridge, Washington, in the Seattle area, who was scoreless in the first half, 11 in the second. Misses the second.
Now there's time to run a stunt, and you can choose to miss the shot, try and tip the ball back, and gain a second possession, something you work on in a daily situation in practice, late game scenarios, or do you try and convert and then foul?
Gray misses the second. Wake Forest rebound. Stewart is fouled with 5.8 left on the clock.
Still plenty of time here. No time for the Gonzaga to hang their head.
How about the free throw misses? Aminu misses 2 to keep Gonzaga in it, and then Gray misses 2 out of 3.
I think on that last free throw, wouldn't be surprised if Gray wasn't trying to miss intentionally to secure possession. Valiant comeback here by Gonzaga. Stewart still needs to convert these 2 free throws to make it a 2-possession game.
He shot 2 foul shots in his Wake Forest career. He's a freshman. This is just his 7th game. 2 shots. If he makes the second, back to a 2-possession game with 5.8 and no Gonzaga timeouts.
And so many contributors for the Demon Deacons. We knew about Amino and Ish Smith, but Stewart, Harris, making big contributions as well. The big men of the Demon Deacons, a yeoman's effort on the boards as well.
Missed the second. Gonzaga still has a chance.
Foul. Ooh, close to an intentional there. Very fortunate. But they did choose to foul inside of 6 seconds on that possession, not allow Gonzaga to get the three-point shot off. So Dino Gaudio continuing to push all the right buttons. Now that's very close to an intentional foul. Was not necessarily going for the ball, but went for Bolden's body. And that's the danger and why so many coaches avoid fouling in these situations. If you don't practice it on a daily basis, you don't want to try and do it in the game. You have to rehearse and focus on how to foul. It sounds simple, sounds basic.
Bolden misses the second. Big call here. John Hughes has it. I believe it's lane violation. Bolden was trying to quick shoot it, missed the second, so that Gonzaga could rebound and have a chance for the tie.
Well, this one doesn't even hit the rim. Only the backboard, a valiant effort. A little moxie, heads up attempt by Matt Bolden to no avail. Bolden able to sneak in. But the quick whistle by the officials. Dino Gaudio and his staff deserve high praise, high marks for their team's performance.
2-point lead for Wake Forest. Home run pass knocked away by Gray. He saves it to Stewart, and Wake Forest becomes just the 4th team to win against Gonzaga in the McCarthy Athletic Center. 77-75 is the final. From 13 down in the first half, Wake Forest uses a 37-12 run to take command of the game, and they hang on for a 77-75 win over 16th-ranked Gonzaga. Coming up next, it's College Football Scoreboard. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Steve Lavin, I'm Carter Blackburn. College Football Scoreboard is next.